being really open to feedback, even when it's hard to hear, especially from my instructors, because, if you hire people, then you got to also trust that, they have things of value to say. Like, you can't just hire people and then just be like, shut up. No, I'm leading this.
Welcome to Invincible Teams, a podcast for team leaders and business owners who are tired of dealing with office drama and politics, high turnover, and teams not meeting their potential. We know that team leaders and business owners like you are pretty much always under pressure to get the most out of your teams. And we also know that most teams only operate at about 58% of their actual potential, and we've got the tools and training to make that number keep going up. We believe that every team should reach their potential, and that if we get intentional, our teams can become invincible. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Invincible Teams podcast. I'm your host, Ryan. Today, I'm excited to share with you an interview I did with Maggie Glover. Maggie is the owner of Glover Fitness in Conway, Arkansas. It's an awesome all-women's gym, and she's just a great business owner and leader and team leader. And so got to talk to her about all those things, about some of her journey in the entrepreneurial world and just the things that she has learned or wish she would have learned as a younger business owner. And it was just a great interview. Really excited to share it with you guys today. If you want to know more about her business, you can find that in the show notes. And if you want to learn more about what it looks like to create an invincible team for your business, check out the link for that in the show notes as well. Okay, that's it. Let's get to our interview with Maggie Glover. All right, Maggie Glover, welcome to Invincible Teams podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have you here. I think anybody in the Central Arkansas, certainly Conway area, will probably be familiar with you a little bit, but for those that are not, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I am a mom, a wife. I own a gym, and it's called Glover Fitness Conway. It is an all-women's gym. It is group fitness only, free childcare.
Tell us how you got to where you are today with that business and just kind of the journey that led you there.
So I always have to start back pre-kids because before I had my first daughter, I was a counselor, and I was working for about 2 years when I had her. And then I fully intended to go back to work. But I mean, I think a lot of women go through this as soon as they have their baby. I mean, your world just kind of turns upside down, and you didn't really, like, people can tell you that everything changes, but then when it actually does, like, everything is put into a different perspective. And I wanted to stay home with her. And so we tried to figure out how to make that happen. I didn't go back to work, but the flip side of it, as blessed as I was to be able to stay home with her for a year, it was also super hard for me. And any mom, period, it's a hard thing, but to stay at home and be with her all day was such a drastic change that I wanted something else to do. I needed something else that could fit into my life. And I'd always been active, and I figured out an opportunity came across my way. I actually kind of searched for it, and it was called Oh Baby Fitness. And it was basically a mom and baby stroller group. And I became a licensee with them. And then I did that for it. It was really successful. I met some really awesome girls through it who are actually at my gym still. And so I was in that for about a year. And then the company made a decision that I didn't really like. And at the time, of course, I was really upset about it. But it pushed me into thinking about, like, well, what I really wanted, and like kind of dreaming bigger. And then at that time, it's just so funny because, I really see where God was working, because I had such a passion for it. And I'm more of a risk taker, but my husband is not at all. And so I knew that this was like from God that we should do this whenever I talked to him about it, and he was all in, and he was like, well, sure. Like you think we can do this and you want to do it? Let's go for it. And I was like, who are you?
Yeah, yeah. So have you always been that way? Like have you always had this entrepreneurial spirit, like starting new things, big ideas?
No, it's I never started out thinking like I want to be a business owner. I want to own something and run it. And it was just something that it just happened. Like it just came along, and it was just an idea. I was so passionate. Like I could see the vision of what it could be. And that got me so excited. And when I get excited about something, it's just kind of like I don't put it down. Like that's all I think
Mm,
about. That's all I want to do. It just kind of becomes like an obsession then at that point. So I just become obsessed with how do I make this work, and
yeah.
how do we make Glover Fitness happen?
Yeah. So, you say you started with this Oh Baby Fitness, which is this mom stroller thing. Is that what I used to call the momfia? Like this group of moms rolling around.
That's very well what yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So how
Exactly.
old was that your first like entrepreneurial journey when you did
Yeah.
that? Yeah. And
Yeah.
how old were you at the time when you did that?
Let's see, Sophie was a year. I was 29.
Okay.
Mhm.
So how was that being a 29-year-old, pretty new mom getting into this entrepreneurial leadership space kind of for the first time? What was that like?
Yeah, well, it was really fun. Like I loved it. I figured out at that point that I really like being like the boss, even though it wasn't a huge operation. I mean, it was just kind of like I set up classes online. I tried to promote, which that's one of my weaknesses. I'm awful on social media. But I tried to I it was a process of figuring things out, and I like to figure things out, and I like to problem solve, and so I also like to be in charge of my own schedule and my time. So that was really cool. I really loved that part of it, but really like I had so much fun doing it, and I had so much fun doing something that I loved, meeting these amazing women that were like
Hmm.
really filling up my life. I really feel like it did more good for me than anyone else, to be able to do
Yeah.
this and meet moms and work out. And so yeah, I mean, it all worked out, but it was just really fun. So it was just kind of natural to be like, okay, well, let's do this bigger.
Yeah. So how did you go from, the dawn of the Momfia
Yeah,
to Glover Fitness now?
right. Well, like I said, the company made a business decision that, like I said, I didn't really like. And so I was talking to my friend. Her name's Erin Connor. She's the former owner of Share the Love, which is a place where I had done some mom and baby Pilates, when we kind of branched out and did more classes than just stroller. And she said, she mentioned to me about this place called McClure Fitness in Benton. And she's like, it sounds like kind of like something that you would like and like you would want to do.
Hmm.
And so I got hooked up with Marietta McClure, and she became my consultant in how to start this business. Now, mine was pretty much modeled after hers, except that I'm all women.
Hmm.
I really felt strongly that it was going to thrive as an all women's gym.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big difference there. But she helped me, I mean, tremendously along the way. And yeah, I just definitely could not have done it without her. She was awesome,
Hmm.
and still is. She still helps me out. I got questions. I'm like, hey, what do you do about this? And she's there.
Right. So how's Glover Fitness doing today?
It's going good. At the moment, we are shut down because of the recent COVID cases at the gym. So I made a
Hmm.
decision about, I guess it was close to 2 weeks ago, to shut down whenever we started having some cases and trying to figure out like a game plan of some tighter restrictions and what we need to be doing differently. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I
but
know
we open up Monday.
okay. Well, I know you also have through this season done some really cool things to kind of pivot your business model a little bit
Right.
to still have revenue streams going on. So talk about that a little bit.
So, COVID hit in March, and that was like, a slap in the face, I think, to everybody. And we were mandated to shut down. And so at that point, really, it just became like, okay, how do we do this? We were throwing a curveball, like, let's figure it out. Everyone in the world has to figure out what
Hmm.
they're doing now. And so what we did, initially, we started doing videos online on YouTube for free. And really, a lot of that was just because I knew I needed it, and I knew that I needed to stay active. I knew that was important for my members, and I wanted to, at the time, to give them something that they could do because we hadn't set up. We've never done any classes online. I didn't feel right about asking people to pay for them.
Hmm.
As far as that went. And then, but eventually we rented out our bikes, which a lot of studios did. And then we had some paid memberships to a Facebook group where they could then get some videos, some spin videos.
Hmm.
So, and we rented out steps. We even rented out weights because at the
Yeah.
time, like, nobody could find weights.
Right.
So we just had to keep figuring it out. And then whenever problems arose, or Zoom wasn't working how we wanted this to work, or this wasn't perfect, then we just kind of have to keep adapting.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, this year has been a challenge for just about everybody, but just as you look back over the years of being a business owner and leader, what's been one of the biggest challenges that you have overcome as a business leader?
One of the biggest challenges. I mean, gosh, yeah, for sure, COVID. I think that would top them all, trying to figure out how to keep a business alive. But other than that, I think that in the beginning, whenever, we're just starting out, and things aren't going how you want them to go. You don't have the numbers in classes. Like, sometimes we were teaching classes of one. Like,
Hmm.
it would become a personal training session. And that's what I would tell my instructors too, is, whenever you don't have the numbers, you need to treat those girls as if, they are queens at that point,
Hmm.
and taking something that is a hard thing, to go to a group fitness class that may only have two or three people, as
Yeah.
the instructor, and they're depending on you to have that energy and the enthusiasm and really get them going. That's a hard thing to dig deep. And so I had to
Yeah.
really, number one, make sure that was being modeled by me, that even
Sure.
though that's disappointing. I mean, months and months of that, where it was a struggle,
Hmm.
that I didn't let that get to me, and just realize, that's how it's going to be, at least in the beginning. And you just have to push through those times, and you have to take it and roll with it and see the good in it. And so, and actually, and I'm so glad you asked this question. I haven't thought about that in so long. But some of those girls that we had, those intimate, I call them the training sessions, the personal training sessions, they are our most loyal and,
Hmm.
I mean, devoted members, because we really established that relationship with them. And so
Yeah.
I look back, and I think God was teaching me some hard lessons about how, you got to be resilient. It's
Hmm.
not going to come easy. And, there's a reason why small businesses are so hard, and you don't ever need to feel entitled, like things are going to be easy, if things should be easy. No,
Hmm.
that's just not how it is. So, yeah, I think in the beginning, that was definitely the biggest challenge, is just overcoming that. And so,
Yeah. Oh, that's great. You mentioned instructors and just different people, I guess, that you've built a team around yourself. So tell me about your team. How many people do you have on your team now? What all do different people do?
yeah.
Talk about that.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing. I love my instructors. They, everything relates back to COVID, but you know how, that you have great people when you go through something like that, and you learn that you can rely on them. Like, they are there. They are with me through thick and thin. They are tough. They are generous. I mean, so anyway, my team, I've got I think 16 instructors on my team right now. In the beginning, I had we started off with 6. And in the beginning, I think I only knew one of them
Hmm.
previously. And other girls, like I sent out like, hey, like this call for applications, and
Hmm.
that was hard too. Because now the great thing is that I pick instructors from women within the gym, women that
Hmm.
already kind of get the atmosphere, kind of get what Glover Fitness is about. The ladies already know them. They want to support them.
Yeah.
So, the last couple years, it's all been ladies that I know their character. I know that they can kick my butt in a workout. So like I've seen that, like I've worked out with these ladies, and then I pick them. And of course, I get to pick people I work with. It's amazing. Like I like them all. We like each other. So it just kind
Yeah.
of works. And they all have their different specialties. Not one of them is like the other. Some of them they all have their different styles. Some of them will be as nice, and you talk to them and you would think she would never hurt me in a class. And I mean, they are ruthless, in class, but they talk like this, keep going. Some of the girls, if they ever listen to this, they know who I'm talking about. And then other ones are kind of like the drill sergeant and like just, chew your butt out to get you going. It's great. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, and different styles work for different people. And so our members kind of learn like, hey, maybe I thrive under this way or this way, or maybe I like a whole variety. So
Sure.
it all just kind of works together really harmoniously.
I love that, like pulling people from the classes, people that you already know and have,
Hmm.
built a relationship with. And what I hear you kind of saying is that um, because they already know a lot about the culture of the company you're
Yes.
trying to build,
Yes.
it's an easy kind of process to integrate them into that role.
Right.
Why is that culture so important to you as a business leader?
Because I think that I believe that people, and women especially, they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I think that once you buy into being a part of a team, because I mean, I've been on teams my whole life, and I've seen the magic that comes from being on a team.
Mhm.
There's an added element that you can't get when you're just in a sport for yourself, okay?
Mhm.
But it also translates into life, and especially in the gym atmosphere. That comes to just like when we're running sprints, in class, and they're yelling for each other, they're supporting each other, they want everyone to succeed, and it creates this camaraderie. And then it transcends past the gym. They start to learn about each other's lives, and they actually care
Mm.
about their victories outside of the gym, problems they have outside of the gym. So it creates a really tight knit group, and it's women not just thinking about themselves. Like that's what I
Mm.
love. I love it because our women are just, there's so much about each other. And then when you're on a team, you're constantly thinking about the other person. You don't want to give up because of her next to you. And
Yeah.
in turn,
Yeah.
it makes you push harder. So there's just a magic of group fitness, and more than that, like I like to think about everyone when we're in class as a team. So that, and like my instructors are a team. When we're in class, that is your team. I tell them
Mm.
that, like, these are your team members today.
Yeah.
And so it's important to me whenever I'm hiring somebody that they understand that. Like when you've already been coming to the gym and you get that, then it's not, I don't have to teach you that. You just like get it. And sometimes I don't know if it's thing that you can teach.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it is, it's super, super important to me.
So, this is called Invincible Teams podcast, and I think you're kind of circling this right now a little bit. But if you had to boil down, the things that make a team invincible, quote unquote, that make a team really great, what do you think is the most important thing for a team?
I think it would have to be sacrifice. So that's kind of a broad answer. But what I mean is, like, for example, I'm thinking about my instructor team. And one thing that I think makes us great is that they're willing to sacrifice for one another. For example, we have certain slots in each schedule.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, I mean, most of the time, it's a business. I've got to put the classes I know that people want, that they're going to show up to, that are, bringing in good numbers. And, but a lot of times it doesn't matter. It could go either way. Like either one will work. But, maybe this girl wants this time slot for this class and this works for her, but they both actually want it. There are a lot of times where there could be some clashes there.
Mm,
Now, of course, like I'm mediating, but that doesn't happen for them,
mm,
because what happens is they, number one, it's like they want the good of the team. They see the bigger picture. So
mm,
a lot of times there's so much sacrifice that I see from a lot of my instructors, and they're like, okay, well, you know what, if you think either one will work, but let her have it this session, and then maybe we'll talk about it later, but whatever works best for the team. So to me, the fact that they're willing to put the team, what's good for the gym, above just what's good for them individually.
yeah.
I think that makes us great.
I think that's awesome. That's one of the things that if you've ever looked at Five Dysfunctions of a Team with Patrick Lencioni, it's this kind of model for how teams can work together, and that's one of the things he talks about. Is it's the very top of the five is inattention to results, and what he talks about there
Yes.
is inattention to team results, right? Versus those individual results.
Yes.
And having a focus, like you're talking about, on the overall team results and the team goals and
Yep.
team success, has this almost trickle down effect on everything else, right? And so I love that. I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah. I
So
mean, it makes total sense, because, I can remember sitting on the bench sometimes when I wanted to play, but I knew, like, in that particular situation at that time, that girl was going to do a better job than me for whatever reason.
sure.
And even though that can kill you to sit on the bench because you want to play, the fact that you know that she's probably going to get this done better than I was
Yeah.
is preferable, is better.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's a tough lesson to learn, but it's a good one.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I can relate to that too. I grew up playing sports, and basketball was probably the one I played the most growing up, and I remember, if the other team, if we needed to score more points, I was not the guy that the coach was going to put in, right? But if we needed to stop the other team's best player from scoring more points,
Yeah,
I was on the floor every time, right?
right.
Because that was the role that I played and was really good at. And yeah, sometimes you got to sit there on the
Yeah.
bench whenever it's not your time, and the team needs something else. So I
Exactly.
totally
And then
understand that.
trusting too. Cause I mean, I can remember times too where, I mean, cause you want to play, you want to be out there, and maybe you think it's the wrong decision. Maybe you think you shouldn't be on the bench, but you are benched, and then
Right.
so kind of just like deferring to that leadership and saying, okay, maybe I don't think it's the best plan, but like I'm going to go along with it, and
Sure.
knowing your place and knowing your role, like that's important too.
Well, and so for you, you find yourself in this position where you're not just one of the players, you're more like the coach, making a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these leadership decisions. So what has that experience taught you about teamwork and about leading a team?
My gosh. I think, when I sit down to think about it, there's a lot, really. Um, as far as leading a team, I think that there are probably only a few things that I would be good um leading at. And it's got to be something that I care about and like I'm really passionate about, because I
Mhm.
think that what works and why our team works is because, for a lot of reasons, but one of those is because what we're doing is something that I love. Like I love what we're doing.
Mm.
I believe in it, and I think that if it was something, if I was trying to lead a team about, I don't know, gardening, how if that was my business, like it wouldn't work because I don't care that much about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that I have a passion about it, I think that's what makes it
Yeah.
work. And that's what other people feed off of too. Like if we've got some kind of new idea or project we're working on, and I'm excited about it, then it kind of spreads too, and we all kind of feed off each other. So that's been fun. Being really open to feedback, even when it's hard to hear, especially from my instructors because, if you hire people, then you got to also trust that, they have things of value to say. Like you can't just hire
Mhm.
people and then just be like, shut up. No, I'm leading this. So whenever anyone wants to come to me with something, I really try to listen, even if it's something hard, maybe something that I need to change about the way I'm doing something. That's been a learning process for me too. Just kind of being able to take criticism and then turning it into what it is. It should be just constructive.
Yeah. Well, so I've heard you say a few things as we've been recording this that have stuck out to me. And for all the Enneagram heads out there that are listening, this will kind of come together here is you've talked about passion, right? Being passionate
Mhm.
about things. You mentioned really enjoying being the boss and your own boss, making your own
Yes.
schedule, all those kinds of things. And so it won't surprise anybody that's versed in the Enneagram to hear that you are an Enneagram 8, which is awesome. Eights are definitely some of my favorite. They get a lot of stuff done. But
We
I
do.
imagine
I get a lot of stuff done. You're right. Check off that to-do list. Tons of
and
stuff.
energy. You talk about energy and drive, all that stuff. But I imagine that the team that you have is probably all not people exactly like you.
Hmm.
They probably have a lot of different personalities and things. And so, what do you think the role of personality is as you are leading a team, as you're building a team, growing a business? How do you think that plays in?
Um, well, I mean, as far as my personality or like theirs as well, like
Both. Yeah, all of it.
both. Well, I think that you have to, number one, really, really know who you're working with, like
Mm,
know your people, understand them, like developing individual relationships with them and kind of understanding like how they work. Whereas some people I know are never going to ask me, they're not going to be as assertive. They're not going to ask me for this time slot, or they're not going to ask me, if they can branch out and do a different class. And so I kind of have to be in some situations a little bit more pushy with different girls, that I know that I need to push them out of their comfort zone. They're not going to do
mm,
that, naturally on their own. Um, and then it's just with other personalities, like I said, it's just really understanding who they are. And how you deal with them best. That's
yeah.
probably very,
Oh, I love that. A lot of times when I teach Enneagram stuff to groups, I will say that at least in our time, in our culture, I think the most difficult combination is to be a female 8, right?
mhm.
And so for you, how has being a female Enneagram 8 in the entrepreneurial business owner leader space, how has that been difficult? And how has that been rewarding?
Yeah. Well, like I told you, I don't know if I know enough about my number to really say so much about it. I do know that as far as my relationships with women in the gym and like my instructors, I've not felt like I've ever been, really pushy or like I guess what might be a stereotypical 8 would be. But there are definitely instances, and I guess just in business dealings, not like I said, not really with instructors or members, but just getting things done
Mm,
with people that like I need to from my business. And when things don't go how I think they should go, or I feel like I'm being treated unfairly, or I kind of have to fight for my business, that's I guess when I feel like maybe the stereotypical 8 will come out. And
mm.
like I told you before, I think my husband probably sees that more than anyone too. But
Of
there's a lot of
course.
times where I've had conversations. I say not a lot. There's definitely a handful I can think of right now where I will get off the phone or I'll be done with that conversation. And then I question myself and I'm like, dang, was I like really rude about that? Was that bad? So I'll definitely, I question it. And I feel like I question then what they think about me. So I definitely can tell that, I guess as far as being an 8 in that way, it will, it'll come out.
Yeah. Well, and I know, you may not want to brag on yourself too much here, but what about your, being this female business owner, Enneagram 8, like all that stuff wrapped up. What about that have you loved?
What have I loved about being a business owner? Oh my
And just your
gosh.
personality and all that. Like,
Yeah. Well, I really feel like I've thrived in it. I absolutely love that today, like I wake up and I decide what needs to happen. I look at the whole big picture and I decide what's a priority today. I don't have to answer to anybody, really well, except, my client or our members,
sure.
but I get to decide that. I love that I get to dictate my day. Now I'll probably be the hardest boss I ever worked for.
Right.
There's no one else that's ever pushed me as hard as I push myself. So, I mean, sometimes I don't like my boss,
Yeah.
but I really love it. It's just fun, and I get to do something I love and have that flexibility. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
Well, that's really great. So I have one more question for you, and it might be the hardest question yet.
Oh gosh.
Here, get ready for this. What lessons have you learned that you wish you could have passed on to your younger self?
Oh my gosh, pass on to my younger self. Well, it depends on how much younger, because if it's like, high school, Maggie, I would say, listen, you can go to college and play volleyball, but you don't need to worry about grad school. You're not going to use it for more than 2 years. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So I would tell myself that. But like in all reality, looking back, I know that I met some wonderful people in grad school. God had a reason for that. Apparently wouldn't use my degree, but let's see what else. What as far as the business, what I would tell myself is I would just say go all out. Don't let any part of fear hold you back. There have been opening the gym was not a decision I did in fear. Obviously it was one really based in faith, and it was awesome. But then there are some decisions I've made for the business that I feel like have been more out of fear than out of really faith. So like I said, like I feel like I'm a risk taker, but whenever I play it safe, I regret it. So, for example, I had an opportunity. I love the space we're in right now. It's been great. It's worked out perfectly. I love it. I love downtown. But there was an opportunity to rent out this other space, and it was bigger, much bigger. And that's one of the issues I'm facing right now is I want more square footage. I want a lot more space because, we need it. I think we can fill it up. And I look back and I had wished I hadn't made that decision out of fear. Like, well, I don't know if this is even going to work. I don't know. I think I need to go with the smaller space and keep looking. And I really feel like that could have been a great opportunity, something that a place we would have thrived as well. But hindsight's 2020. But yeah,
So
don't play
go for
anything
it.
safe. Yeah, just go for it.
I love that. Well, Maggie, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. I think that a lot of people that listen to this will get a lot of good stuff out of it and really enjoy hearing about your story and the things that you have learned along the way. It sounds like you've got a great thing going and a great team around you. And so just wish you continued success and growth with your business.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, thanks for being a guest on the podcast today.
Yeah, this was fun, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening today to the Invincible Teams podcast. We'd like to challenge you now to go share this episode with a team leader or business owner that might like it. And just like every podcast, we appreciate all the subscribes, likes, shares, reviews, and 5-star ratings you can give us. And like we always say, we believe that every team should reach their potential and that if we get intentional, our teams can become invincible. See you next time.